Okay, so thanks everyone for joining us on week 3 of the DFEND3 series. Today's topic is strategies for change, effective goal setting. So I just wanted to start with a few reminders. Today is the last day to officially enroll in the DFEND3 study. So if you want to participate in the research aspect, Emma has just shared that in the chat box, the link. You need to sign up by taking the signing the DFEND3 consent form, which you'll find the link on the right-hand side of the page. And then after you've done the consent form, we ask that you take the pre-study assessment. And I think there were some mismatches, but Emma should have reached out to you if we needed help matching your pre-assessment to your consent form. And then as a reminder, share your goals or your weekly challenges via email I think it will officially change by Monday to defend@uada.edu. So for those of you in extension who have already switched over, the Ag Experiment Station was about a month behind. So you can share via email or Facebook. And if it gets bounced back in this next week or so as this transition occurs, you can email me directly. And don't forget to call in and ask the personalized coaches questions. So we have Monday, we have a behavioral expert, a 6th-year psychology student. She actually created the fast fact for this week on SMART goals. Tuesdays, we have a registered dietitian, and Thursdays, we have a senior PhD student in exercise science and a personal trainer. We've had great attendance so far. I think they've been really helpful. And you can call in and just ask a question about yourself, something to help you achieve your goals, or just curiosity, something you read online, and hang up. You can stay for the whole hour. They're not really lectures. They're just designed to help you succeed in DFEND3. And you don't have to be part of the study to participate in any of these activities. It's open to everyone. So again, welcome to week 3. And how is it going so far? We've had great activity on the Facebook page. Does anyone want to talk about how meeting your initial goals went this week? I can talk about my goal. One of my goals was to eat 3 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, so to meet the dietary guidelines. And I was able to achieve it, but I had to be really mindful to making sure that I did that. Anyone else have any experience? No? Okay. Well, hopefully, if those of you who were struggling, learning how to set goals and using SMART goals may help move that forward. So let's just go back to week 1 and review that a little bit from Dr. Howie's presentation. So really it's about the science of behavior change. I don't know, Erin, do you want to present this part since you're the creator of the
Sure, I can just kind of talk about what we talked about before in terms of behavior change. So all of our sessions in DFEND 3.0 are going to be about behavior change. And it's really about the science of why we do what we do so we can help to change how we do it. So next, click. And this is how we like to think about our behavior. A lot of times if we're having struggling with our goals or trying to eat healthier or do physical activity, we often blame ourselves and then we feel guilty. And then it's just this big spiral into not feeling very good about ourselves because we can't do something that's actually really hard to do. And so this is a socio-ecological model from public health and thinking about all the different factors that influence our behavior and what we do from the individual. And I'll talk a little bit about this in terms of goal setting. What we know, as well as our skills, obviously influence what we do, because if we don't know how to do something, it's really hard to do it. From our social factors, so what our family does, what our friends do, what kind of are some norms among those peer groups, organizational factors, so things at work. So a great example is, kitchens at work, staff kitchens, everybody leaves donuts after the weekend, or maybe that leftover birthday cake. That can make it really hard to say no and make the healthy choice. The community is kind of broader relationships among them. So maybe it's the city of Fayetteville here in Northwest Arkansas, and also public policy, so actual laws. So are there laws that control, for example, whether or not sidewalks get put in, or who maintains the sidewalks, or do you have a greenway? Where do grocery stores go? Our Dollar General nearby just got converted to a market Dollar General, which is very interesting, but now they're going to be having more fresh produce and foods, which is great for the community. So those are just some examples of all the different things that can influence our behavior, and we'll talk about these in some of the DFEND sessions later on in the next few months, and how we can understand what's influencing our behavior, and then ultimately to help change those things so that they're more supportive of healthy choices. Next. And these again are just kind of the examples that I talked about from the different levels that are influencing our behaviors. Next. And so these strategies for change, today we're going to be talking about one of our first ones, which is goal setting, and how we can use goal setting as kind of a way to start changing our behavior. And there's some other ones that we'll be talking about as well in the future, from feedback and tracking our behaviors, how we can utilize social support to help support us, and other ones. So if you look on the website at the schedule, you'll see them labeled as strategies for change. Next.
Oh, is this one me?
I think so.
Okay. So I took a lot of the information from this website called Mind Tools, which has a lot of useful tips and easy to understand and templates for goal setting. So they identified 5 rules to set yourself up for success. So goal setting is much more than simply saying you want to do something, you want something to happen. You really have to clearly define exactly what you want and understand why you want it in the first place. If not, your odds of success are considerably reduced. So you need to set a goal that motivates you. Set that goal and define it using SMART goals, which we'll talk about later. Set your goals in writing and frame your goal statement positively. You have a higher chance of success that way. Make an action plan and then stick with it.
So what Jamie's going to talk about today in terms of SMART goals and kind of some of the general tips that she just went over, they are backed up by some science, go figure. So there actually is a goal setting theory, and we talked a little bit about theories in week number 1 and how they can help explain our behavior. And there's been a lot of research supporting on how to set goals, what make good goals, how, who follows through and actually achieves their goals. So the goal setting theory was officially published in 1990, so almost 30 years ago, although 1990 doesn't sound like it was that long ago. But even before they officially called it goal setting theory, there had been a lot of research with a lot of participants all over the world, all sorts of different tasks and behaviors, so not just nutrition and exercise, and different time frames. We'll see that later, from setting a goal and something you're going to do in the next minute to something you're going to do in the next 6 months. So it is really generalizable to other things in our lives. So it might be a strategy that you can apply somewhere else, not just related to physical activity and nutrition. And one thing that they've looked at, and there's been a lot of research on, is what types of goals we should set. So they talk about them as learning versus performance goals. So a performance goal is kind of that end period that you might like to achieve. So maybe if you are trying to lose weight, your performance goal is you want to lose 5 pounds by the end of 6 months. But a learning goal is more about that process along the way. So maybe it's actually related to how you're going to lose that weight. So maybe you're going to learn some more healthy recipes to cook as you go, or maybe you're going to call into Bryce and get some tips on physical activity, maybe learn how to do yoga along the way. And they find that generally, if your goal is really difficult and seems like it might be a big challenge, setting learning goals might be helpful for you along the way. And you can actually have both goals at the same time. So you can have that big picture end goal in mind, and then think about what you really need to do to achieve that. So that's something to think about when you're setting your SMART goals. Next slide, please. And with this goal setting theory, they've looked at different factors that influence how successful we are in meeting our goals. And so this is a summary of some of those factors. And I think they all are incorporated into the specific SMART goals technique. SMART is just easy to remember. So in terms of like meeting our goals, we want to make sure that we're getting feedback, and we'll talk about this as a separate strategy in a couple weeks, because we don't know if we achieved our goal if we're not actually tracking it. And so the pre-survey is one way to help with that, and we can help you find the best way to monitor your goal as you go. You have to be committed to your goal. There's some research suggesting it doesn't necessarily matter if you set your own goal or if you set it with somebody else, or if somebody else actually sets the goal for you. But at the end of the day, you have to buy into it. And if you're not committed to it, you're very not likely to achieve that goal. This goes back to those learning goals. You have to have some knowledge or skills to be able to achieve that goal. And hopefully this is where DFEND and all of our resources from DFEND1 and DFEND2 are there for you to access. And we'll be learning more as we go to help you achieve those goals. And situational factors matter. So this goes back to that socio-ecological model where we don't exist in our own little bubbles. What our husband does, what our wife does, what our kids do, what our coworkers do influence whether or not we're likely to meet our goals. And so we need to be aware of them and help them help us. And those 5 things listed on the right, again, are all incorporated into those SMART goals, and especially the clarity. So being really specific in the goals that we set, as well as having some type of challenge. So we don't want them to be too easy. And they give a lot of examples of, general goals like do your best aren't very good. They don't really help us to change our behavior. So we want to be as specific as we can, which Jamie will talk about when she goes over SMART goals next.
Thanks, Erin. So yeah, well, today we'll talk a lot about SMART goals because this is part of your weekly challenge. So what's a SMART goal? So it's an acronym meaning specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Like I said, there is a fast fact on the DFEND3 website describing SMART goals. So the S means specific, and I'll go through each one individual. So your goal is direct, detailed, and meaningful. It needs to be measurable, so it's quantifiable to track progress or success. It needs to be achievable or attainable, so it's realistic and that you have the tools and resources to attain it. It needs to be relevant, so aligns, so this says company mission, but your personal mission or goals, and it has a deadline, so it's time bound. So specific, it should be really clear and specific, otherwise you won't be able to focus your efforts or truly feel truly motivated to achieve it. So that's where Dr. Howie was saying, do your best just doesn't cut it. It needs to be really specific. And when you draft your goal, try to answer the 5 W questions. So what do you want to accomplish? Why is the goal important? Who is involved to help you achieve your goal? Where is it located? Which resources or limits are involved? So it gives your effort direction, so you know exactly what needs to be achieved. So making a goal measurable, this is important so you can track your progress and stay motivated. And assessing progress helps you stay focused, meet your deadlines, and feel the excitement of getting closer to achieving your goal. And it should address questions like how much, how many, how will I know when it's accomplished? The achievable or attainable part of your goal is really making sure it's realistic. So setting a goal to lose maybe 50 pounds in 1 month is probably not achievable or attainable for most of us. So we may lose motivation and give up on achieving our goals real quickly. But for those of you who have attended Jamie's sessions on Tuesdays, one of the first sessions she talked about, setting realistic weight loss goals and thinking about maybe how many calories or what kind of physical activity you have to do to burn 1 pound. So something more achievable would be, lose 1 pound a week or half a pound a week as part of a larger goal. So it should stretch your abilities, but still remain possible. And when you set an achievable goal, you may be able to identify previously overlooked opportunities or resources that can bring you closer to it. So an achievable goal usually answers questions like, how can I accomplish this goal? And how realistic is this goal based on other constraints? So it could be financial factors. Maybe it's, access to a gym if your goal is related to physical activity or strength, um, and things like that. And so I guess, be aware that setting goals that someone else has the power over. So a lot of the examples you'll find online related to SMART goals tend to be related to the workplace. But for example, if one of your goals is to get that promotion at work, well, this isn't totally in your control. It depends on the applicant pool and the decision of the recruiter. But saying something like, get the experience and training that you need to be considered for a promotion, that's entirely up to you. So this goes into sort of the education and learning process of the goal. Make sure your goal is relevant so that it aligns with your current lifestyle and habits, or maybe not habits, we may want to change those. But we all need support and assistance in achieving our goals, but it's important that you retain control over them. So you have to make sure that your goal or plans will drive you forward and that you're responsible for achieving it on your own. So a relevant goal can answer yes to the following questions. Does this seem worthwhile? Is it the right time? Does it match our other efforts? Am I the right person to achieve this goal? Is it applicable in the current socioeconomic environment? So I think one of these big ones, especially during the last year of the pandemic, is this the right time? So I know for myself, I had a lot of ambitious goals a year ago, but now, my priorities have changed and it's more about trying to stay as healthy as possible and just getting through the day. So I've really had to rethink my goals to make them more relevant during the pandemic. And finally, they should be time bound. So it needs a target date or deadline to have a focus on something to work towards. And this part of the SMART goal is to help prevent everyday tasks from taking priority over your longer term goals. So a time bound goal will say when, what can I do 6 months from now? What can I do 6 weeks from now? What can I do today? And research has shown that the time doesn't matter. Goal set, like the duration, it can work for 1 minute or months. You just have to pick one to work towards. So make it happen, how to accomplish your goal. So that one of the big things is to write down your goal. Research shows that people are 42% more likely to achieve their goals when they write them down. And like I said before, there are so many SMART goal templates available through, Google Images that you can download, or Pinterest. You can print them out. There's also several apps that I'll share at the end. Set regular check-ins. So any goal worth achieving probably won't happen overnight. And it's important to check on your progress regularly to ensure you aren't falling off track. So we hope that the sharing through our Facebook group and email and posting your goals will help with people checking in and keeping track of progress. And then this is also a part of this week's DFEND challenge, is celebrating your win, even the small one. So we'll write our SMART goal, which will just be taking the goal we set last week. You can keep the same goal, or if you think you want to change it based on the SMART goal principles, and develop your SMART goal, try to achieve part of your SMART goal and celebrate the win. So don't wait until your entire goal is accomplished to celebrate. Recognizing small wins and milestones can keep you moving in the right direction and keep you motivated. So I actually tried to work on this last night and today, and I found it kind of hard to write a SMART goal, I'll be honest. So I went back to, a couple years ago, and what was my SMART goal? Well, my blood pressure was a little high. So after my physical, I talked to my doctor, and my goal was to really lose 20 pounds over a year. So I thought it was attainable over the long term, and it wasn't too unrealistic because it was a target of less than 1 pound of weight loss each week. So when I thought about turning this into a SMART goal for Defend, I thought, okay, well, what is one of the things I really have to get back on track in order to meet my weight loss goals? And one of them is to increase physical activity. So I tried to make it specific. And Dr. Howie, correct me if I'm off base here. But so my specific goal was to increase physical activity in order to meet the physical activity guidelines by the end of DFEND3, so in June. And to make it measurable, my goal was to walk or run on the treadmill or outside for 30 minutes 5 times per week. And I think this is achievable, yes. And if in the call with Bryce yesterday, he was also talking about, your 30 minutes doesn't have to happen in one chunk. So if I do have a busy day at work, or, I'm running around on the weekends doing family activities, just taking 3 10-minute walks or 6 5-minute walks can really help attain this goal. And why is this relevant? Well, I really want to improve my physical fitness. Back before the pandemic, I was working on finishing 10K trail runs. And by focusing on a 10K trail run, so my goal is to finish there's some that start in July when Defend ends, that this will help me start to lose weight. And my time base is 20 weeks, so the length of Defend. I don't know, is that how you do it, Dr. Howie? I really actually struggled with this one.
Yeah, that's good.
So anyway, I tried to make it realistic because I think, Dr. Howie talked about this, and Casey talked about it, I think, last week, and it's been talked about in the behavior personalized sessions, that when you make your goal unrealistic, which I almost do every January, even though I know better, it's really easy to give up and get off track. So by breaking it down into smaller, more manageable things, it should help me achieve this longer term goal. So this brings us to this week's challenge. Turn your personal goal from last week into a SMART goal. And share this via email. So by Monday, it should be defend@uada.edu or Facebook. And if you do this beforehand and it bounces back, just send it to defend@uaex.edu. Focus on meeting your goal or goals and celebrate all your success. And so I want to put a disclaimer that I actually haven't tried any of these apps. But they came ranked, on different websites through a Google search. So there's one that's free called Achievement. It's a goal tracker. Happy Goals cost 99 cents. There are tons of free downloadable templates. And then these are some other ones that got really good reviews, either in the App Store or online. So next week, our topic is strategies for change, tracking, and feedback. And that concludes the presentation, and we're happy to take any questions, comments, feedback.